boy C-Rock here in That One Studio on the What He Made Of show. Got my man Vinny Colombo here as our guest today. He's going to share what he's made of. He's a veteran, was in the Navy, did amazing things in the Navy, working on anti-terrorism, damage control, and facility management. He's in the multifamily real estate now, and he's got Colombo Capital Investments. He's also in the trading. We're going to talk about all of this. Vinny, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. Let's get into it, dude. If I asked the question, what are you made of? What would you say?
Oh, man, I would say it's got to be resilience, man. Like that, to me, being able to pivot and deal with like the emotional weight of what hits you in the world, or the unexpected, be able to take that and realize, hey, it's temporary. It could suck for a year, it could suck for a couple months, but as long as you have that goal in mind, you keep that grit going, you can accomplish your goals and get out of whatever funk you may be in at the time.
Yeah.
And, that's been kind of like my lifelong lesson. It's been one obstacle after another throughout my life.
Yeah, man. I mean, but here's the thing. Everybody should be going through that stuff. When we go through it a lot of times.
If you haven't gone through troubles or tribulations, like I feel sorry for you, because then who do you know who you're going up against, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, this is life, bro. And when we have these things, it gives us an opportunity to get polished and strengthened and, build that resiliency. So let's take it back. You grew up in New York?
Yeah, I grew up on Long Island, New York. I graduated high school in Northport by 2006. Did try the college thing and really realized it wasn't really for me. I got my associate's degree, and then, I was working 2 jobs, and I got into a really bad car accident, just being a typical 20-year-old guy, not really going too fast, not doing anything stupid, just kind of not paying attention at the wrong time. And I put this older woman in a hospital. And that really kind of made me kind of like realize, hey, man, you got to really kind of take responsibility for your life and start doing something with it. Otherwise, you're going to end up dead or in jail.
Yeah. Yeah. Give you a wake up call.
So I decided to join the military, man. And did that about 2009, and I stayed in it till 2019. And I served on the USS Howard out of San Diego for 5 years, and then the USS Constitution in Charlestown, Boston, for about 2.5 years. And then I finished up in the Bronx, working at one of those reserve centers.
Did you go overseas too?
Yeah, I did 2 deployments in the South Pac. So I've been, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan a couple times, Korea a couple times. I was off the coast of Somalia doing pirate operations.
Oh, really? Did you ever see any pirates?
Yeah. I put a gun in one's face.
Really?
I mean, a lot of times, they throw the stuff over the side and we're just taking their bio sometimes, and sometimes we're boarding ships and stuff like that. I didn't have to board any like major ships that were live. We do a lot of training, obviously. But we did have call, hey, RPGs are getting shot, and we had to drive over there and man up a gun. I was on a 50 cal at first, then I moved over to the small boats when we get closer to them.
So tell us the story of the one when you had to put a gun in his face.
Well, honestly, we had to keep training on them, right? So there's like 4 or 5 of them in the boat, and my job is to make sure this guy doesn't move, right?
Little boat.
Yeah,
like their little pirate boat, not when they boarded.
Those boats that they use to get onto a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Those speedboat kind of things. It was just our job is to hold security on them to make sure that they don't move and do anything crazy. While we're taking their, but we call it the bio, the pictures, the front, the face, and all that. That gets sent to a database, and we just, hey, if these guys get picked up again, we know where they were and all that kind of stuff, and it just goes into a database that we keep track of out there while we're out there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then my second deployment, we were dealing with China, the man-made islands, and Korea, and all that. So,
what's going on over there? Talk to me about that.
This was a while back, so I'm pretty sure everybody found out. But you heard what China was making those man-made islands. This was probably back in like 2015.
Yeah.
And our helo was the first one to kind of find that. And then, there was a flare that got shot. It was a big international thing. We got kind of like, hey, stay over here. We'll figure all this out. And then 4 months later, the whole world found out.
So when you say man-made islands, what do they just bring they dredge
the way it works in the Navy, I guess how maritime law is anything 11 nautical miles off your land, coastal land, is your water, right? And anything after 11 is like international waters, basically.
Yeah.
Well, if you make an island, you can now claim those territorial waters. There's a lot of oil reserves and a lot of strategic value in being able to say, hey, I own this land and I own this water. And we're
Gotcha.
like,
So
yeah, absolutely not. That's not how it works.
and
You
what
can't
did
just
they?
do that.
They were farther than 11 miles off with these islands.
Yeah. They were just, hey, these are our islands now. And we're just like, where was this before, on our
Yeah.
charts and things like that, so it was
And
one of those
what do they do? They dredge and they bring up a bunch of sand.
I'm
and
assuming.
dirt?
I mean, I don't know the details. I was a E5 at the time. So
Yeah, I know, but I didn't
way
know.
below my pay grade.
Yeah,
but, I honestly wouldn't know. I mean, there's some things like if you think like an oil rig, sometimes right, you can kind of like all the way to the ground up and then sand, and you can create your own islands. I mean, I know people have done that. I think off the coast of California, some of those beaches and some of those things are kind of help man-made. That's why we can't build buildings so high because of the potential earthquake area over there. So certain ones on the softer sand can't be higher than I think it's 2 stories or something like that.
Yeah. Did you play sports in high school?
Yeah, I was a football wrestler kind of guy. I ended up putting baseball aside. The coaches were like, hey, you got to focus on 2. So those were my 2 favorites, and I pretty much did that throughout high school.
Never interested in college?
Ah, man, I did. I tore my shoulder my senior year.
Yeah.
My labrum, my right shoulder, and I kept wrestling with it torn. So I just did so much damage to it. By the time I was done, and wrestling season doesn't end till like the further you go. And I went all the way up to like the counties and things like that. It was like I think March, April, by the time I ended. And then I went through like the surgery and then the rehab. And by August, they were like, you can't do anything with the shoulder, and it's in the rehab. And I wasn't rehabbing it like constantly in the gym, so I just kind of put it aside. I wrestled on and off like small tournaments and things like that, but I actually got into jiu-jitsu, a little MMA and boxing once I got into the military. So I kind of like that more than the wrestling. Cutting weight was terrible as an Italian, not being able to eat. And I grew up in New York, deli pizza, like, and you tell me I can't eat anymore?
Oh yeah.
So no thanks. I did about 4 years of that.
Yeah, different world up there, man. The food's so much better. The bread's better. Yeah. You can't find that anywhere else.
No.
So then when you're in the Navy, right, on a ship, like, do they have places where you can work out and do martial arts and stuff like that? MMA?
We're not supposed to, but yeah, you can. I mean, there's rooms that we have lock spaces. A bunch of our guys, we used to go up to one of the forward areas. It was a keypad. You had to get in there. We know the code, so only who we want in there can be in there. And we have the mats. We roll the mats out. We just kind of roll with each other. Who knew what? Can teach each other and just go a little live. Nothing crazy, but enough to get a sweat going. And then we have a couple we have one weight room. And I was on a destroyer, so that thing's small. It's the size of my room. Imagine fitting this and then putting a Smith machine and a bunch of dumbbells. It was tight. You can only fit like 4 or 5 guys in there. But you find places to work out. They have treadmills and things like that, bikes and weird places, things like that. So
and they have women on the ships with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So how did that dynamic play out when you're out to sea on a ship? And there's women and obviously men and obviously whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
do they frown upon relationships?
I met my ex-wife on my ship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this was 2015, 16 again, and we just started with the flirting in the locker room. What I mean by locker room, I worked at the repair. I did the damage control stuff. We have lockers that we control, like the forward part of the ship, the middle part of the ship, and the back part. Like your people are designated to those areas. If there's fires, flooding, and damage, that we send those teams out. We don't want guys going from one forward part to the back part, right? We want guys stationed all over the place. So I was the locker leader at the time, and she was one of the plotters or something like that. So I was always be like, "Hey, what's going on?" during the trainings and all that stuff. Yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Spitting the game,
And so, do they frown upon that though? And when you're on the ship together, like how does that work?
As long as you're within, like, you're not in the same chain of command. You're not really, as far as like, I'm not her boss, she's not my boss or anything like that. Yeah, they'll frown upon that as long as we don't become destructive to like the ship and the command, which we did. We kept it professional. Everybody, but people found out, which was fine. We kept it, private. Obviously, we don't want our business being everybody else's business, but eventually people find out. Obviously, we go into countries and stuff like that together. And it was it's not frowned upon as long as you're doing things tasteful and right in the right way.
And you were able to hang out a lot when you had time off and stuff?
Yeah. When you pull into port, you get a couple of days off here and there, depending on how many days you get in there.
Right.
And then obviously there's some downtime when you're on the ship. So, but not as much as you think.
What was the hardest part about being in the Navy?
The hardest part was being, there's a couple parts, right? One is hey, being told what to do at the same time, right? You're locked in. Hey, we're going underway for 2 weeks. Sorry, you had a vacation or you were going somewhere for the weekend. That's canceled now. And by the way, it's almost like, hey, I'm in charge of, multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment, but I still get treated like a child sometimes by like some of my supervisors,
Right.
And then it's really like, you're some rates in the Navy can go higher faster than others because quotas and taking a test, and and some don't. And it's like, man, this guy's climbing because he's in this job.
Right.
And it's like there's a whole thing, pick your rate, pick your fate type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, when you pick your rate, you don't know what you're picking at the time, but then you're stuck with it. And sometimes you can't change it. Like I couldn't change mine because my quotas were so bad, but it's 4% over the next 5 years if I wanted to go up to the next pay grade. So eventually I plateaued because there was just no room for growth. And I was like, I'm not doing another 10 years as an E5 while I'm watching everybody else climb the ladder.
Right.
And I was a pretty good leader at the time because I was doing all these training teams and all these things. But I guess I kind of got like, you get that stare, like, why is this E5 with the chiefs in the first classes?
Right.
Like doing this stuff. Like, who's this guy? And then, you start to get like, you kind of make enemies a little bit,
Yeah.
that like if you're in charge of someone else's department's training team, that rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
Right. Right.
So I kind of learned real quick that, like, hey, I need to go somewhere where I can't plateau and cap, and I can keep kind of going after my goals and what I plan on trying to do. So I realized, hey, I wanted to have kids and I wanted to, pursue that. So I wanted to get out because I wanted to be there for my kids.
How about the best part? How about the best part?
Best part, man, pulling into these countries.
Yeah.
The boys, like you going into these countries with the boys, guys you've been grinding with, day in and day out. And, we're going into Thailand, Malaysia, Japan, eating great food and, having good drinks and stuff like that. But I went to Victoria, Canada, and I couldn't tell you how many beers I drank in that place.
How about the women in different countries?
Yeah, like it depends on where you go. You like those countries. You'll have a great time. Trust me.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking you. Like, what was the best country?
You can, if you want to pay for it, you can get it, man. It's
but did you have to pay for it? Like, were there opportunities to like meet girls at bars or whatever?
It can be. Good luck finding that, though. It's a business out there, some of these countries. So, if that's what you're into, you can do that. It's kind of awkward sometimes. You're walking around some of these countries and you're seeing a lot of old white men in some of these countries. But, they retire from here and they go live over there like a king. And, some people enjoy that stuff.
And then you get
so much to do, though. Honestly, seeing all the cool. I love the food. Honestly.
You trying to change the subject on me? Yo, man, it's a podcast. We have some fun here. No.
I know we're having some fun.
I get it.
Man.
I get it.
That's right. I mean, you can have some fun. I've had some wild stories. Those are not to be aired.
Of course. And then sometimes they look like women and they're not, right?
Yo, dude. Let me tell you this way: there is nothing wrong about making sure the person you're talking to is a female,
right?
And if you got a check underneath the hood, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that because I have never been more aggressively grabbed in my life than I was in Thailand and the Philippines.
Yeah.
Like they're pulling you, you got the guys going, hey, you want to buy a James Bond suit, which is custom suits and awesome. And I got a story for that. Like that I had a whole bunch of guys got screwed over from that.
Tell us. Come on.
All right. So this was 2015. We're just like last country we're done with before we pull back, start going back home. And my training team, I was on the VBSS team, so it's the Visit Board Search and Seizure team. We're training with the Thai Navy at the time. We're teaching them how to board bigger ships, right? So it's like a 3-4 day training. We're there all damn day almost, and we get a couple hours at night. So the final day of that training, and they have a military coup while we're in country. So we had to recall everybody back. We had to get out of there. So all the guys that were buying these suits and didn't pick them up yet, all got charged like 4 times what the suit was worth to get them shipped from Thailand back home to San Diego.
Jeez.
So it was almost like buying a normal American suit now. Because you're buying those 3-piece suits. Some of these guys got 2, 3, 4 suits, over there for like a couple $100. Now you're spending $400 or $500 just to get them shipped over.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was funny too, is I was just about to go out and buy my suit too. the day of the coup. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and get a suit. I didn't get one last time I was in Thailand. I heard great things about them. Let me go get suited up. They do the whole measuring thing, like you're like buying a
tailored
$1,000 suit.
Yeah.
And it's tailored by them. Yeah, it's like custom.
And then who was the president when you were in the service? Who were the presidents?
Definitely it was Obama for sure. And I think tail end was Trump because I know that led into COVID. So
okay,
so those two basically.
Did you notice any difference in morale between the two presidencies?
Honestly, it was so far ago, and for us, it doesn't really matter. We get screwed either way.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, we're told what to do. We're not even allowed to even be. We kind of have to toe that line, because
of course,
whoever the boss is, the boss is, right?
Yeah.
Keep your feelings to yourself, kind of deal. There was a little difference. I think I would say like morale might have been a little different. Like morale's tough because morale is it's dependent on your ship and your command type of thing.
Yeah. Overall
morale, I think we got better with Trump, in my opinion. He seemed a little more pro. Budgets were better, I would say. But that was so far ago.
Yeah, I mean, he put a lot of money in the military to build the best.
Yeah, he did. A lot of we didn't.
Yeah.
We felt like we were getting taken care of a little bit towards the end.
Yeah. I just saw something within last week about recruiting is way up now. In December, the numbers were ridiculous for recruits.
You know what the problem was for a long time is the Navy, or a lot of the military and the Navy specifically, will pay for your college. So now people aren't going to college like they used to, like, sign up for these 4-year degrees. So that was their main recruiting tool, and that got taken away. And then the COVID shots, they forced everybody to take those. So that also kicked out a lot of people and put about a bad taste in people's mouths. So I think now that that's all over with, you got Trump back in the office, you might see a lot more of that increase. Because, you never know when things are going to change and pop off in other countries. So we always have to be ready. That I learned when I was in, and I might be even thinking about joining the reserves again, just so I can stay a little bit in the game. Sometimes,
You miss it?
I miss getting underway, man, and having a cigar under the stars, man. That was one of my favorite things, is having a cigar. We used to do jazz and cigar nights on Sundays. We set up the speakers and play some music while the sun's going down, and it was beautiful.
Oh man!
So I do miss that. Being on the ocean breeze. Yeah, that was the best. That was honestly my favorite memory of everything, other than the fun and all that crazy. But like to just breathe that in again one more time would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, you can still have cigars now and play jazz music. If you
I do.
to.
Trust me. I smoke cigars all the time.
I see the cigar lounge sign back there.
Yeah, I got the cigar lounge. I got the cigars going all the time. Yeah. That's actually one of my major networking tools, to be honest with you. I've gone to a lot of cigar lounges. Everywhere I go somewhere, I try to go into a cigar lounge and just sit down and talk with the locals there, or just meet new people. That's how I met so many people here in Denver.
Yeah.
And then when I go to these networking events, like I went to one for a multifamily network, and they called me the cigar guy because I came with a bag of cigars, and these were the ones I gave out to people that I was networking with. I kept the good ones for me. I gave out the the cheaper ones, but my first investor came from just smoking cigars and talking.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's like golf. It's kind of like golf, playing golf, cigar lounge. There's one in Brickell, Miami. And I forget what it's called, the Social Club. I forget what it's called.
Orlando. I was in Orlando. They have some nice ones there too.
Yeah, there's one in Brickell, Miami, and you walk in. It's just a little cigar store when you first walk in, about the size of my studio here, just this little area. Yeah. And then it has an elevator. You go in the elevator, you go up, and it's like amazing bar, leather couches.
So cool.
Ventilation's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen some cool ones in Vegas. They open up a bookshelf, and then you walk in. It's like a speakeasy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Do you drink?
Yeah. Not as much as I used to, because that was one of the downfalls about being in the military. You get very codependent on that.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've tried to dial that back, be more in control. But I like the bourbon, Scotch, wine is my go-to. Red wine, man, all day.
Yeah.
Not so much beer anymore. I used to drink a lot of beer in the military, and that is added on the weight on the gut, man.
Yeah.
Hasn't gone away since. So I learned to lay off the craft beer and all that.
I'm with you, man. I like wine, and tequila is my new thing, man.
Oh, okay.
I like drinking some tequila, just even with club soda, or obviously a margarita once in a while, but it's a lot of calories.
I'm a margarita guy. I get the margarita,
spicy margarita.
Yeah, all day. I'll do those.
Yeah. All right, so then you get out, right? And then eventually you get into this real estate world, and take us through the journey of like how you got into real estate in the first place, and then to the point where now you have Colombo Capital.
Yeah. So started when I was in Pennsylvania. Sitting at night. I work nights a lot, so I'm sitting there. Man, I got to figure out something else to do with my life. So I tried to learn IT. I tried to learn graphic design. None of these things are really hitting me here. Um, enough to quit one job that I'm getting paid this to go to that. I started reading a lot of books at night. The first book I read that made a huge impact for me was Rich Dad Poor Dad, learning, about the assets and the liabilities and things like that. And then I just started. I looked at my two best friends, and one of them was a real estate agent. And he was killing it down in Virginia Beach. He had a team, so I was like, let me go down there, stay with him for a week, and just see what he's all about, what his team's all about, so I can get a firsthand taste of like, hey, is this something I'm really going to want to do? Went down there, loved it, loved the atmosphere, loved the team, loved everything they were doing. Obviously, he was one of my best friends from the military, so I trust him, trust his, guidance, and came back, took the test, got certified, and then just started diving in. Went on, got clients any way I could. Learned that, doing it this way was a little harder. A lot of, the homes were very 100 to 150.
Where were you when you went back? Where were you?
Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. You were in Pennsylvania then. Okay,
that's where I started becoming a real estate agent.
Yeah, you got $150,000 houses out there.
Yeah, and then you got the Susquehanna River that runs through that floods all the damn time.
Yeah,
so I'm dealing with flood zones. I'm dealing with all this stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm a brand new real estate agent. And I'm dealing with all these wild, crazy things I got to jump hoops over for people. And I'm learning, the mortgage side. I'm learning how all that works. I'm learning the real estate side. I'm like, all right, I did a couple deals, and I'm like, I wanted to go somewhere different. I want to go to a city like, close to New York, but like something new. So I decided to choose Denver, where my other best friend was at, and came out here, realized there's like a million agents out here, and everybody's the best. Everybody tells you, oh, yeah, we're the best in Denver. We're the best in Denver. I was like, all right. I was on the journey to get it, and then all of a sudden I started seeing ads to, invest in multifamily apartments and things like that. I started seeing, because the original reason I joined becoming a real estate agent is because I want to learn about real estate. I want to learn the back doorway. The best way to learn it is to be in it. So I started doing that. And then once I went to these conferences, I started meeting other real estate agents. I started meeting people and realized that I wanted to, get involved myself. But I didn't want to do the single family flips and all that stuff because I didn't have any of those resources set up yet. So I went to like a 3-day, networking, / say, this is what we do, how we do it, join our membership, and we'll teach you the way kind of deal. And it was a pretty expensive mentorship, but you look at it as like a semester in college. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
So I went and got some business loans, and then got the entry fee, I guess you can call it, or tuition, and then started to learn it, dive into it, learn how to find a property, learn how to, and honestly, to me, it was making connections. So I made connections with a bunch of people from New York and Florida. We all, chatted like this on the Zooms, and we all connected and like, hey, we're going to be in Houston. Let's all jump in and go to a conference in Houston. So we all jumped in. We all like really liked each other. So we decided, hey, let's start doing deals together. So they had a deal coming up. It was for kind of the beginning investors. So I was a sophisticated investor at the time. They're like, all right, so, minimum is like $25,000 to get in. I was like, all right, let's see what I can do. I went and I got a loan from a bank, 35, and I said, here's my money. And I refinanced my house to pay off that. So for me, it was about taking action, getting in the game.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
So for me, it's like, man, you can sit on the sidelines and try to learn this stuff, but you're never going to really learn it unless you're doing it. Right. And now when I talk to investors, like I got skin in the game now, I'm doing it too. So I also learned how to treat your investors correctly because that's how I want to be treated as an investor.
Yep.
So once I started doing that, I did my first deal.
So that $25,000, where did that go?
I went towards a 65 unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma that I did a syndication deal with. So I owned it with a bunch of other investors.
And you were an LP on that?
Yeah, I'm an LP on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're in our first year. We just finished our first year on that deal. So, taking care of business, getting the occupancy up, getting, everything renovated like we want it to be. It's moving in the right direction. But, obviously those deals are tough. You got to stay on the grind on those. I'm an LP, but my partners are with a GP who I plan to do more deals with. And it really is just making connections with them and then getting my debt reduced so I can go on and take the next deal. My goal is to attack another deal this year.
Gotcha.
So
and
I'm trying
are
to do
you
at least one deal a year right now, maybe two in the future?
Have you started raising capital yet?
I did raise a little bit of capital. As my first investor I met at a conference we smoked cigars with. And then I helped out another newer member of our mentorship team to get into one of the deals as well. And I kind of took a break for a little bit because I wanted to focus on clearing my debt, working on my business, working on the day trading, because that was going to fuel my future acquisitions down the line.
Gotcha.
Like, I got my deal done. I learned a little bit about what I need to do. I'm going to learn single family a little bit as well, but I want to get income coming in that I can do deals with. So then I focused on real estate. Focused on day trading. And then that's when I met this other mentor of mine at a cigar lounge. I met his uncle. And then he introduced me to day trading, and I've been following him for about a year, working with him. He asked for me to buy into his company to become a partner, which I did. And our goal is to bring the real estate stuff to the party down the line. And he's going to obviously teach everybody in our group mentors how to day trade. So hopefully, I'm getting on track now after a year of losing. I'm finally winning. And hopefully, a year from now, we're in prime positions to do more joint venture deals where we got 10 of our mentees. We all got $2 million to go in on a deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the goal.
When you day trade, how long do you spend per day day trading?
I start at 7:30 my time. I'm usually done by 9 the latest. Like
okay, a couple hours.
I made $22,000 today.
Couple hours.
About hour or two tops. I don't like to trade anymore until like 9 because the market switches and things like that. But market opens for me in the Denver area at 7:30, which is
best,
like 9.
Best day and worst day. How much?
Worst day I lost about $30,000 in one day.
And best day.
Best day was probably I made about $50,000.
Okay.
In one day.
Okay.
But I'm still in the beginning phases, so a lot of this was lost and wins. Like I won one day, lost the other.
Yeah.
This week, knock on wood, I've been on track, man. I knocked out $30,000 on Tuesday, and I knocked out $22,000 today.
How much money? How much money do you have to do 30?
So we use the trade funding accounts. So we use Apex Trade Funding. So we were buying accounts basically the size of $50,000 because in order for you to be a day trader, you have to have $25,000 to be considered a day trader. Not a lot of us have that. So we use these trade funding accounts. So we signed up. And for me, they give you 80% off a lot of times. One day passes. So I spent $35 per an account. So I have 7 active accounts right now. We use a trade copier. So when I trade on one of them, it copies it to all 6 other accounts. So if I make a $500 trade, that's 500 times 7.
So just so we're clear for the audience.
Yeah.
You get these accounts that already have capital. You're basically
I'm getting capital from a bank funded account basically.
Yeah, you're using that account, but don't you have?
There's a lot of strict rules with that though.
Yeah, but don't you have to prove yourself first? Like you have to have a winning.
Yes, that's called the evaluation. So like I said, there's strict rules, right? So anybody once you sign up with the program can buy an account, and the sizes range from 25,000 all the way up to like 300,000, and each of them have their own rules. For me, I use a lot of $50,000 accounts just because that's just my bread and butter. In order to pass that and prove yourself, in a sense, you have to make $3,000, but you can't lose more than $2,500 at any point. So you can go up $2,000 and come back down $2,000, and you might have blown it because there's other thresholds and things like that. If you go up, let's say 500, and you don't close out at 300, you just lost 200 off your total cap of how much you can lose now. Because it's almost how much could you have won, and if you don't close out and you lose, you end up basically blowing accounts a lot faster that way.
And when you blow account, they just kick you out and you can't go use it.
And you just start all over again.
Okay.
Right, but you pass an evaluation, then you go to a performance allowance account, and that's the one that really matters. That's the one where you can start drawing money. The trick is you still have to follow those same rules. You have to get the $3,000, but you can't lose more than $2,500. After $3,000, everything's now your money.
Okay.
Of course, they get a kick at the end. I think it's $20,000 is yours 100%. After that, they get 10% of any time you draw money.
Gotcha.
That's their way of getting there.
But then after you do that in that performance account, and you have a day where you lose 30,000, does that kill the account?
Not necessarily, as long as you don't go back below that 3,000 again.
Okay, gotcha.
So you want to go slow and steady, right?
Yeah,
And this is
yeah.
cumulative. So when I say I lost 50, that was, throughout 10 accounts sometimes.
Right.
Or
Okay,
more,
gotcha.
So right now I'm going a different strategy. I got different strategies that I'm using now that I didn't use 6 months ago, and these seem to be working well. So I'm gonna stick with them as long as they work, and hopefully keep progressing, and be able to start drawing money, quit my job, and do all this stuff full time.
Love it. I love it. Where can people go
My
deeper
mentor showed me he can make what I make in a year in 1 hour or 2 hours or a day. I said, sign me up. Here's my money.
That's like the Wolf of Wall Street. That scene.
Come on, teach me how to
if
do it.
You can show me your W-2 right now, I'll quit my job.
Yeah,
by
quit
the
my
way,
job. Exactly. That's pretty much how it went.
I know the guy that was that. Like, I know some of the people involved with that. That was, yeah. You should check out that one podcast, my traveling podcast I do. I interviewed Ross Mandel. Okay. And Ross was telling some of the stories. He would go in there and tell, some girl would be like, how much do you make? And he'd say, I just made $200,000 last month. And she said, you mean last year? And he's like, no, last month.
No, last month. Yeah.
yeah. You check Ross Mandel out.
I want to be humble when I get to that point, but I
this
also
is
want
not
to be at that point.
That's not the world they were in. So look up Ross Mandel on
no, I know, I get it.
Yeah. He's
I want to be humble, right?
He's a friend of mine.
I made $1 million last week.
Of course. Hey, where can people go deeper with you, Vinny?
I'm all over social media, Vinny Colombo. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Vinny Colombo 25 is that was my football number, so I kept that around. I'm on all of them except Twitter. It's not really my go-to. It seems a little too toxic for me.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, look, I appreciate your time sharing what you're made of today. Look, anytime that somebody comes on here and shares stories with me, I appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate you having me. It's awesome to be able to talk to you and share this with everybody.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Hang tight while I wrap this up, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here on the What Are You Made Of show. It's your boy C-Rock and Vinny Colombo sharing what he's made of. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, family, coworkers about us, and keep coming back. Until next time, be that one.
Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to the Daily Stoic early and ad-free right now. Just join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. I think when things are difficult or we know things are going to lead to hard conversations or changes we have to make in our life, we come up with reasons not to do them. When I think about therapy, I think, how can I make this as easy to do as possible? Whether that's like scheduling a bunch of appointments in a row, whether it's doing it remotely so I don't have to get in my car and drive somewhere. Like, I want to eliminate the excuses. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. Talkspace is the leading virtual therapy provider, and it makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, you can easily sign up online and get paired with a licensed provider that's the right fit for your needs, often within just 48 hours. You can also switch at no extra cost. You can even talk it out between sessions by sending messages to your therapist. And most insured members have a $0 copay. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/stoic and enter promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist, go to Talkspace.com/stoic and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. Welcome to the Daily Stoic Podcast, where each day we bring you a Stoic-inspired meditation designed to help you find strength and insight and wisdom into everyday life. Each one of these episodes is based on the 2,000-year-old philosophy that has guided some of history's greatest men and women to help you learn from them, to follow in their example, and to start your day off with a little dose of courage and discipline and justice and wisdom. For more, visit dailystoic.com. How to work through the unimaginable. It was a terrible blow. It was the call you never wanted to get. It was an awful setback. It's been a painful few months, a dreadful few years. This is life. It has always been thus. Marcus Aurelius lost his father at age 3, his mother at age 34. He buried 9 of his children. His reign was, as an ancient historian said, an unending series of troubles. floods and wars and plagues and betrayals. How did he get out of bed in the morning? How did he stay hopeful? How did he stay good? How did he not fall to pieces? How did he work through the unimaginable? He did it in the pages of what would become meditations. He did it in conversations with Rusticus and Fronto and Sextus. Jarred unavoidably by his circumstances, Marcus Aurelius tried to get back to the rhythm of philosophy as much as he could help it. Was it easy? No. Was he superhuman? No. He wept. We know this. He wept at work. His health faltered. He sometimes felt like giving up. He questioned whether the gods were picking on him. He lost his temper. But he did keep going. He did his best. Not perfectly, not without pain, but with resolve. And that is the task before all of us. Like Marcus, we can choose to steady ourselves in wisdom, to seek refuge in philosophy, to lean on those who guide us. We will falter, we will doubt, we will grieve, but we will also rise again and again, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way forward. What can go wrong might. And this is from this week's entry in the Daily Stoic Journal, 366 Days of Writing and Reflection on the Art of Living by yours truly. We call people who dwell on what might go wrong pessimists. Some even think that bad thoughts attract bad events. The Stoics found this all to be nonsense. In fact, they had a practice, premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils, that specifically encouraged musing on the so-called worst-case scenario. Marcus would begin his day thinking about all the ugliness he would see on display in court, not for the purpose of working himself up, but precisely the opposite, to calm and focus himself, to be prepared to act in the proper way rather than just to react. Seneca, too, practiced meditating in advance, not only on what normally happens, but on what could happen. Epictetus went as far as to imagine losing a loved one every time he would kiss them. The Stoics believed that all we have is on loan from fortune, and that negative visualization helps increase our awareness of the unexpected. So don't shy away from this in your thoughts. Then we have two quotes today from Marcus Aurelius and from Seneca. When you arise in the morning, tell yourself, I will encounter busybodies, ingrates, egomaniacs, liars, the jealous, and cranks. They are all stricken with these afflictions because they don't know the difference between good and evil. Because I have